It all started when I moved to this new apartment. Suddenly, I started to receive some wrong delivery orders, but it turned out it was specifically sent for me. My name is Gracie Hart. I started modeling ever since I was 12 years old. Even when I was not very famous, people would often praise me for my beauty and my personality. And after graduating from college, I decided to completely focus on my modeling career. So I moved to this apartment right in downtown LA. Due to my hectic schedule, I had to order everything on delivery from the nearest store. No one was allowed to step inside the gate of apartment building, so the guard used to take my deliveries, and later he would drop it outside my apartment door. But one day, when I was having my periods, I ordered few packs of sanitary pads, and the next day, when I opened the door, I found chocolates in a carry bag lying outside my apartment. I thought the guard may have mistakenly delivered it to the wrong apartment, so I gave it back to him. But after a few days, I got another wrong delivery, and this time I had ordered modeling magazines, but instead the magazines I received were lewd ones. I got furious. I thought the delivery guy had pulled a joke on me, so I called him and started shouting at him, but he swore that he delivered the right ones. Then I thought it must be guard because whenever I passed by him, he kept staring at me with weird glaze. So I went to guard and threw magazines at his face and told him it's not funny. But to my surprise, he told me that he never delivered anything, and the magazines along with deliveries of other apartments are still with him. Day by day, the incidents kept increasing. Whatever I ordered, I would always receive another delivery. I realized it must be the work of some stalker. The agency I was modeling for was near my apartment, and one day after finishing shoots, I found a package outside my dressing room. I opened the package and there was a set of lingerie inside. I freaked out and threw it away. Ever since that day, I started suspecting everyone around me, the neighbors, the guard, the delivery guy, and even my fans. There was a big shoot for a major project in which I had to dye my hair blonde. The shoot gave a boost to my popularity, and one day I received a black hair wig delivered outside my apartment along with a note. It said, "Black suits you best." I panicked and ran inside my apartment. I picked up my phone from the side table to dial 911. But then I remembered there was a clause in my contract regarding the involvement of a law, which says I need my company's consent before getting involved with laws. So I called my manager and told him about my situation and asked him to report it. But he denied, saying that it must be fans sending her gifts and it happens with every other celebrity. My manager told me to calm down and not make any issues because it will harm the company's reputation. So I decided to solve this on my own and cleared my head, took out my diary and a pen. I started to write down all the details, starting from the first incident to the last one, and the names of people I suspected. And I began to live my life like nothing had happened and I'm perfectly fine. But deep down, I was scared, alert, and I started to notice everything that seemed even remotely suspicious. Now, everyone I meet and walk past automatically came in my list of suspects, but I was not losing my mind. In fact, it was clearer to me now. I wrote down every suspicious activity around me. I asked the guards to show me the CCTV footage of the camera that is installed outside the apartment. He said the cameras are not working near my apartment and he will get it fixed by tomorrow. But after that, whenever I asked him, he made some sort of excuse and never let me see the footage. And that was the reason he became the main suspect in my list. I was still ordering foods and groceries through delivery and kept getting the weird packages outside my apartment door. Delivery guy was also one of my suspects, but since he was not allowed inside the gate, I could not think of any other reason except being the only one who delivers my stuff to the guard. It was my day off from work and I slept till noon. I decided to meditate, but after going through all these incidents, I couldn't calm my mind. So I decided to head to the gym that is in the basement of our apartment building. I spent the entire evening working out, and when I went back to the apartment, I found the door was unlocked. I decided to sneakily check who is it and has broken in my apartment. I opened the door without making a sound and tiptoed inside the apartment. Then I grabbed a knife from the fruit basket that was in the hall and looked around. That was when I saw a shadow in my bedroom, so I hid and tried to see the face of the stalker, but I couldn't see his face. I accidentally dropped my phone. He noticed me and rushed towards the gate. I tried to stop him, but he pushed me and managed to escape. I was fed up with this, so I decided to tell the police without even consulting the agency. I had collected all the evidences, my diary which contained the list of people I suspected, and the packages I received. I went straight to the police to file a report. After reporting these incidents, the police started their investigation, and after a few days, they found out who was behind all this. It was my manager. He fed money to the guards so that he can sneakily come and go to my apartment on his will. He confessed that he was one of my fans ever since I started modeling, and that was the reason he took the job of my manager at the agency. But since he never harmed me in any way, he only received a restriction order from the court. After that, my manager was fired from the company. I continued doing my modeling job, but I have decided to put faith in the law for future. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. I ordered a mystery box from an online shopping store. It was rather new and had this pure blind gamble kind of order where I can get mystery boxes arranged by strangers for a heavy discount, and it can be from any country anywhere in the world, and the package would be untouched, and no one except the sender and the receiver will know what's inside the box. And it was something that intrigued me very much, and I decided to go with it no matter the cost. And I guess have nightmares about the boxes. Some were really cool, but some were outright mental. I started collecting these mystery boxes, and these boxes, while some were filled with really cool stuff, some were filled with a hell lot of filth that I could have imagined. They had the filthy hairs and things that I would not mention over here, but in all the boxes that I had were really good. Like one time, I get this really cool antique that I got to sell on eBay. I got $500 for it, and I paid $12 for the box. But this story is not about the box that I enjoyed, but rather the box that I so much hope I shouldn't have ordered online. I have had the luck of getting best boxes for a while, and then there was this streak that I was very much confident in, and I thought that maybe the streak will continue. I have had made a profit of $1,200 up till now, and I was sure that maybe I will get more out of it, and I wasn't ready to accept that maybe this streak could end. But things were not going accordingly, and there was a new site that I hopped on, and it seemed untouched, so I decided to get in on, and I got greedy, and I ordered a set of 8 boxes. I had never got the 8 boxes together before, so I thought of getting them all together and hiked their price on eBay. It was the 8-boxed mystery set that was to be delivered to me from all the way from Argentina. The box was meant to reach me in 7 working days, but there were delays, so I waited for the box to arrive. I tried tracing the boxes, but there were no marks, no location that I can trace the boxes to. And then, days later, I got a pop-up message on the screen that said, "Do you really wish to receive the package? Once at your doorstep, you cannot turn them away." I just agree and decide to wait for the package. I was not fully aware of what was coming next, but I didn't realize that I was deeper into problems. I realized there were people following me, and they looked like suits. Definitely something was going on that I wasn't aware of, so I decided to cancel the order. I went back to the site to cancel the order, but there was no option to cancel them. I was getting worried as the order was nearing by, and there was this sense that I am being watched. I wasn't aware of the implications that this order was bringing in. The worst, I thought, was maybe it is because of the fact that the box is coming from the foreign country, and maybe there'd be drugs in them. And then something happened that I was pretty sure that would happen. The guy in the suits knocked at my door, and it wasn't something I wanted. The guys came in and asked me, "You've been buying too many of them boxes, sir, and recently we've noticed that there is a shipment of 8 boxes that are coming your way, and we suspect that there might be a lot of drug component coming out of your way." And they further started their investigation. "How many mystery boxes have you had your way during few months of your buying? Are you using it for peddling drugs?" And then the guy were very stern about the whole thing, and they charged me, saying that I haven't been honest. So I just told them that I'm just getting good cash on eBay, and then I gave them the list of everything that I had purchased. Even though it was too weird for them, there was nothing that they found illegal. But they told me to keep an eye out for the new package and inform them as soon as it arrived. Then a week later, the boxes arrived, and then I decided to not mess with the boxes and instead call in the guy in the suits. I did as they said and called them, and they came in expecting that it might be drugs. But as they took over and started opening up the boxes, there were different body parts of a person in all 8 of them. And then they took them all for testing, and I was put to a surveillance. And then after days of interrogation and testing, they let me go. But they never told me whose body was it, though I remember seeing a CIA badge in a mystery box, but I decided not to investigate it any further, and that was it. That was the end of my mystery box buying adventures. Back in our days, there was no shipping sites or no orders in delivering things. We had to go to the market to get the things, and if it wasn't in the market, then we just had to live without it. But we also did not have so many things to choose from. But these days, we are busy buying things we don't need. I found myself going deep into the rabbit hole of seeing things and fighting the urge to buy whatever I saw. And then working on a computer cannot be considered one of the things I am best at. So here I am, going through this site called Amazon, and then pops open an advertisement in front of my screen that says I have won something, and I clicked at it. And then it started link after link after link. It brought me to this page, which now I understood was the dark web. At that time, I had no idea what dark web is, and all it said was Amazon Dark. So there it was, all sorts of things that you would find in Amazon if it was for evil people. A whole lot of drug sections and sex products, and people ready to sell themselves for sexual favors. I was pretty keen and not to get indulged, minding that at that time, it did not seem to me as serious as I take it today. At that time, all I thought of it was that maybe it is a prank website. And so in the spirit of pranking, I ordered a mysterious box, and they asked me on the form, who do I want to give this to? And I filled in my wife. I just wanted to give her a surprise. And then it asked me if I wanted it fresh, and I said sure. It also asked me if I wanted to see the process. I checked yes to everything, and then waited for it, having no idea that I was just spending my time on dark web. 2 days later, the box arrives, and it is a wooden treasure chest box. And I brought it in and decided to give it to my wife, who was surprised and happy by the gesture. And then as she opened it up, she screamed so loud. It had a heart in it, something that looked like a real human heart. I saw the heart, and it seemed real to me, and along with it, a pen drive. I told her maybe it's a prank, and we sat and started watching the contents of the pen drive, and it sent a chill down our spine. It was the video of a boy being kidnapped in Europe somewhere, and then his heart being cut open from his body and shipped to us. My wife panicked and fainted, and the first thing I did was call the police. And then they were the ones who informed me that I was on the dark web where I ordered it. I had no idea, but they were nice enough to help us out through all of that. Later on, they did find out whose heart it was, and every information, and spent years on that case, until now that the culprits have been caught. I never asked the cops who he was, and all of the story, but now that the culprits have been apprehended, I want to know about the person who was behind the heart, because somewhere there is this lying guilt that I was responsible for the death of that young boy. On November 16th of 2004, 64-year-old Mitra Simjanos had disappeared after visiting a meat market in her hometown of Kichevo, North Macedonia. Just less than 2 months later, on January 12th of the following year, police found her dead body. She had been strangled, bound, tortured, and violated, but had only been dead for about 2 weeks, meaning she'd been kept prisoner somewhere and continually tortured for quite some time. Almost 3 years later, in November of 2007, 56-year-old Sela Kaska disappeared while walking almost the exact same route as the murdered Mitra. She too was found early the following year, having received very similar treatment to Mitra. Then, May of 2008, 65-year-old Zivaza Tamilkaska received a call saying that her son had been hospitalized. She disappeared on her way to the hospital, and it was later revealed that her son was in picture-perfect health. Her body was found a few days later. Unlike the previous 2 victims, she had been bound with telephone cords before being tortured, violated, and strangled. Macedonia police were reportedly mystified by the murders, and there was a complete lack of cooperative forensic evidence at the scene, meaning the killer had no previous convictions, and the only connections between the 3 women was that they were all employed as cleaners for a collection of different temp agencies. Aside from that, there was no motive, no evidence, and no way of knowing who the killer might be. It most certainly made for an interesting case, and as word spread among the people of Kichevo that they had potential killer in their midst, panic began to set in. The murders had also gained the interest of a 56-year-old journalist named Vlado Tanaski, a veteran reporter who spent his career at 2 of Macedonia's most prestigious newspapers, and Milana began his own private investigation into the murders, detailing his work in a series of articles that were published in the likes of Nova Macedonia and Nutrinsk Vink. The Macedonia public were gripped by the articles, and for a while, it seemed as if Vlado might actually uncover the identity of the man they called the Kichevo Vault Monster. To them, Blanco was a hero, with the articles turning him into a national sensation and reviving what had been a floundering career. But it was during a read of one of the articles that a Macedonia homicide detective noticed something strange. Indeed, the articles were superbly written and pinpoint accurate, yet to the detective, they seemed a little too good. Vlado was privy to a level of detail that could only have come from actually reading the case files, and sharing such documents with a journalist constituted either gross incompetence or possible corruption amongst the presiding officers. An extensive investigation was undertaken, but the source of the leak couldn't be found. In fact, informal security surrounding the investigation was positively airtight. And that's when it occurred to one officer that there was a second explanation to why Vlado knew so much about the murders. One they had to explore, no matter how unthinkable it was. In January of 2008, Vlado received a visit from a pair of homicide detectives who wished to discuss his articles with him. He was only too happy to answer their questions, believing his work was actually helping them catch the killer. And in a way, that's exactly what happened. Because when the police asked Vlado how he knew that the killer had used telephone cord to find his victims, the journalist fell silent. It was explained to him that only the investigating detectives were aware of this piece of information, and unless he could point the finger at the collaborating officer, Vlado had some serious explaining to do. When he failed to account for where such knowledge had come from, the police asked him to provide a DNA sample for use in the ongoing investigation. They assured Vlado that it would be used to rule him out of the investigation, and then, if he had nothing to hide, he had nothing to worry about. But Vlado did have something to hide, because when law enforcement compared Vlado DNA to a sample taken from the victim's corpse, it came back a match. The police had finally discovered the identity of the Kichevo monster and was flooded with Jinski himself. Following the Vlado arrest, the police built up a picture of the man who Sharp the client had driven him to violent insanity, and the 18 months before the first murder took place, Vlado's father had taken his own life. His mother accidentally overdosed on prescription medication, and he was laid off from his job. On top of that, he and his wife apparently separated when she moved to the Macedonia capital of Skopje. Police then moved to search the Tenacity's family's holiday home, a cottage in the countryside that they often summer. That it was there, the police uncovered a huge cache of adult material, ropes, and cords, which they used to tie to victims, and items belonging to the women Vlado had killed. Yet in a bizarre twist, police also discovered that Vlado's mother had been employed as a cleaner for most of her adult life, the same profession shared by his victims. This made for an extremely chilling addendum to the investigation, opening up the possibility that Vlado had suffered a complete mental break and had targeted the women because they resembled or even smelled like his mother. The salsa suggested that he'd had a fraught relationship with her, something his wife and friends said they were almost totally unaware of. Macedonia police were also planning on questioning Vlado regarding the disappearance of 73-year-old retired cleaner Gorsia Pavleshi, which had occurred on May of 2003. But following his transfer to Kichevo prison, Vlado was found dead in his prison cell on June 23rd. He had apparently drowned himself in a plastic bucket of water, his only means of taking his own life. It was an anticlimactic end to a story that had rocketed Macedonia society. The idea that a man was so desperate for the respect and admiration of his peers that he would literally kill for it, and that somehow, in the course of his violent campaign of murder and deception, he ended up targeting women that reminded him of his own mother.